The secret levels of consciousness. Introduction. Awakening to consciousness is a profound shift that changes the way we see reality, shaping our experiences, beliefs, and the very essence of our existence. It is the moment when we begin to question, to seek beyond the material, and to understand that life is more than what our senses perceive. According to Universal Metaphysics by Saint Germain, consciousness is not a singular state, but a vast spectrum, a staircase with many levels, each representing a deeper understanding of the universe and ourselves. Every individual exists at a certain stage in this journey according to their level of understanding, whether they are fully aware of it or not. So the world we experience is a direct reflection of our inner state. Our thoughts and beliefs, whether positive or negative, shape the reality we live in. If the mind is filled with fear, limitation, and doubt, life will manifest struggle and hardship. But when the mind aligns with love, truth, and divine wisdom, everything begins to change. Saint Germain teaches that the material world is not the ultimate reality, but rather a projection of our consciousness. What we perceive as solid and unchangeable is, in fact, fluid and responsive to the energy we radiate. In ancient traditions, great teachers spoke of this hidden nature of reality. In Vedanta, the concept of Maya describes the illusion that blinds people from seeing the truth. Plato, in his allegory of the cave, illustrated how most individuals live in shadows, mistaking illusions for reality. Across mystical traditions, the message remains the same. There is something beyond what we see, a higher truth waiting to be discovered. These old concepts are still reflected in contemporary research. According to quantum physics, matter is not as fixed as it seems, and reality can change just by being observed. The brain's capacity to rewire itself has been discovered by neuroscience, demonstrating that we are not constrained by our prior experiences, but may alter our ideas and beliefs to produce a different reality. These findings are consistent with the insight that Saint Germain expressed centuries ago, which holds that we are in charge of our own lives and the world we inhabit. Yet, true awakening is not merely an intellectual understanding, it is a transformation of being. It is the realization that we are not victims of fate, but conscious participants in the unfolding of life. The journey of consciousness is not about attaining superiority, but about moving beyond personal limitations, embracing higher wisdom, and stepping into our true power. Every thought we hold, every belief we accept, and every experience we embrace contribute to the level at which we exist. The path to higher consciousness is open to all who seek it. It does not require external validation or approval. It begins within. As we move forward in this journey, we will explore the different levels of consciousness, the forces that shape our reality, and the tools that allow us to ascend. The shift is already happening, and the time to awaken is now. Chapter 1. What is consciousness? Consciousness is the foundation of existence, the unseen force that animates life and gives meaning to reality. It is not merely an intellectual or biological function, but the very essence of being, the link between the physical and the divine. Through consciousness, one perceives, interprets, and interacts with the universe, shaping experiences according to the level of awareness attained. From a spiritual perspective, consciousness is the infinite intelligence that flows through all things. It is not confined to the mind or body, but extends beyond the material world into the realm of infinite possibility. Consciousness exists on multiple levels, from the most basic awareness of existence to the highest states of spiritual enlightenment. The more one expands one's consciousness, the closer they come to understanding the true nature of reality, beyond illusion and limitation. At its lowest levels, consciousness is bound by the physical senses and controlled by desires, fears, and attachments to the material world. As one ascends, consciousness shifts from external perception to internal realization, from reaction to creation, and from separation to unity with the divine. In psychology, consciousness is often described as the state of being aware, the ability to perceive thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. Yet, there is a fundamental difference between being merely aware and experiencing higher consciousness. Awareness is the recognition of thoughts and sensations, the ability to navigate life and respond to stimuli. Higher consciousness, however, transcends this basic awareness. It is the realization of one's true nature, the understanding that existence is not random, but a manifestation of divine order. Higher consciousness sees beyond the illusion of separation, recognizing the interconnectedness of all things. The nature and purpose of consciousness have been explained by various spiritual traditions throughout history, each with its own unique viewpoint. Consciousness is essential to the waking process in Buddhism. The Buddha taught that because of their attachment to transient things, most people are stuck in a circle of misery and dwell in ignorance. It is possible to rise above ordinary consciousness and achieve a state of pure awareness, devoid of illusion through meditation and self-examination. The idea that consciousness is not exclusive to the human mind, but rather is a part of Brahman, the universal consciousness, is reflected in Hinduism's concept of Atman, the eternal self. Realizing that Atman and Brahman are one, eliminating the appearance of separation, is the soul's journey. Christianity, particularly in its mystical traditions, speaks of consciousness as the divine presence within. Jesus taught that the kingdom of God is within you, suggesting that enlightenment is not something external to be found, but a realization of one's divine nature. The transformation of consciousness is depicted through themes of rebirth and spiritual awakening, where the individual transcends the ego and aligns with the will of God. Similarly, in esoteric teachings, consciousness is seen as the key to unlocking hidden truths. The Hermetic tradition teaches that the all is mind, reinforcing the idea that reality itself is a manifestation of divine thought. The more one refines one's consciousness, the more one aligns with universal wisdom. These perspectives all point to a singular truth. Consciousness is both personal and universal, both finite and infinite. It is the force that shapes reality, the bridge between human experience and divine truth. Every individual exists at a particular level of consciousness, determined by their thoughts, beliefs, and spiritual progress. But no one is bound to a single state. Through study, meditation, and conscious intention, one can ascend, moving beyond limitations into greater wisdom and power. To understand consciousness is to understand the very fabric of existence, for everything we experience, create, and become is a reflection of our state of being. Chapter 2. The Invisible Forces that Shape Reality. Reality is far more fluid and malleable than it appears to be. What is perceived as solid and unchangeable is, in truth, a projection of consciousness shaped by unseen forces. Thoughts and emotions act as architects of experience, weaving together the fabric of life according to the energy they emit. Every thought carries a vibration, and every emotion amplifies that vibration, sending ripples through the invisible currents that govern existence. The mind, often mistaken as a passive observer, is in fact a powerful creator, continuously sculpting reality in accordance with its dominant patterns. Human perception is not an objective lens through which reality is viewed, but a filter shaped by past experiences, beliefs, and expectations. A person who dwells in fear and doubt will unknowingly attract circumstances that confirm those feelings, reinforcing the illusion of limitation. Conversely, one who cultivates thoughts of abundance, peace, and joy begins to draw experiences that reflect those states of being. The mind, like a tuning fork, resonates with the frequencies it most frequently entertains, calling forth into existence the very essence of its dominant focus. It is not external circumstances that dictate inner reality, but rather inner reality that determines the nature of external circumstances. Beneath the visible world, an intricate web of energy flows through all things, connecting the seen with the unseen. Every form, from the towering mountains to the tiniest grain of sand, holds a unique, energetic signature. This invisible force vibrates at varying frequencies, and the nature of its vibration determines the state of matter it manifests. Lower frequencies manifest as disorder, stagnation, and limitation, while higher frequencies give rise to harmony, expansion, and infinite possibility. The human body, mind, and spirit are in constant interaction with these frequencies, either aligning with their highest potential or succumbing to the weight of lower vibrations. When the mind is clouded with negativity, the energetic field around the body contracts, creating resistance against the natural flow of abundance. Thoughts of lack, fear, and resentment slow down the vibrational frequency, making it difficult to attract opportunities, joy, or fulfillment. But when the mind embraces love, gratitude, and inner peace, the energy field expands, allowing the individual to align with higher states of being. This is why certain individuals seem to radiate an aura of light and magnetism, because they have attuned themselves to the frequencies of harmony and abundance. Science, though often hesitant to embrace the unseen, has begun to uncover the hidden forces that shape reality. Quantum physics has shattered the illusion of a fixed, objective universe, revealing that reality is not as concrete as once believed. The famous double-slit experiment demonstrated that subatomic particles behave differently depending on whether or not they are being observed, suggesting that consciousness plays a direct role in shaping the material world. This discovery aligns with the ancient understanding that the observer is never separate from the observed, but is instead an integral part of the creative process. Further evidence from neuroscience supports the idea that the mind is a dynamic force that may change, rather than a fixed mechanism constrained by its past. It has been discovered that thoughts have the ability to rewire the brain, changing its structure and function over time, thanks to the concept of neuroplasticity. Neural pathways are carved by repetitive thinking processes, which reinforce the habits and beliefs that shape an individual's experience. A mind trained in potential will start to recognize opportunities where none previously appeared, whereas a mind conditioned by limitation will keep reinforcing limitation. One can change their vision and, consequently, their reality by deliberately focusing their thoughts. Belief, though often dismissed as mere sentiment, is one of the most powerful forces in existence. What is held as true in the deepest chambers of the mind will eventually materialize in the external world. The body responds to belief with unquestioning loyalty, adjusting its chemistry and function according to the messages it receives. The placebo effect, long observed but poorly understood, is proof of this phenomenon. When an individual believes they are receiving healing, the body begins to heal itself, even if no external remedy is present. Likewise, when one believes in limitation, failure, or disease, the body and circumstances conform to those expectations. The world, then, is not a fixed stage upon which life unfolds, but a living, breathing reflection of consciousness. It bends and shifts according to the unseen forces of thought, emotion, and belief. Those who remain blind to this truth become prisoners of circumstance, tossed about by the currents of an external reality they believe to be out of their control. But those who awaken to the deeper workings of existence realize that they are not merely spectators in life's unfolding drama, they are its architects. By mastering the mind, refining the emotions, and attuning to higher frequencies, one steps into their true power as a conscious creator, sculpting reality with intention and grace. Chapter 3. The Material Consciousness, Survival Mode. The world of material consciousness is a realm dominated by the most basic instincts of human existence. It is the lowest level of awareness, where life is driven by the relentless pursuit of security, pleasure, and validation. In this state, the mind is imprisoned by fear, fear of loss, fear of lack, fear of the unknown. Those who remain in this stage experience life as a struggle, constantly battling for survival, clinging to possessions, relationships, and societal status, as though these things define their worth. The material world, with all its fleeting promises, becomes their sole reality, and they cannot yet perceive the greater forces that lie beyond what their senses tell them. This level of consciousness is ruled by the ego, the false self that believes it is separate from everything and everyone else. The ego thrives on competition, comparison, and the illusion of superiority. It demands recognition, seeking approval from others as a means of justifying its own existence. Attachment becomes its primary mode of operation, binding individuals to their wealth, their titles, their physical appearance, and even their personal struggles. When identity is built upon external conditions, happiness is always conditional, and suffering is inevitable. The moment a person loses what they have clung to, be it money, love, or social standing, their entire sense of self crumbles, revealing the emptiness that was always lurking beneath the surface. The mind in material consciousness is constantly searching for fulfillment, yet it looks for it in places where it can never be found. There is an insatiable hunger for more money, more possessions, more status, yet no matter how much is acquired, the feeling of lack persists. This is because the void within cannot be filled with things. It can only be healed through awareness. But in this state, awareness is overshadowed by the distractions of the physical world. Every moment is consumed by thoughts of gain and loss, of success and failure, of approval and rejection. People trapped in this consciousness believe they are powerless, that life happens to them rather than through them. They see obstacles as punishments rather than opportunities for growth, and they blame external circumstances for their suffering, never realizing that their suffering is a product of their own limited perception. Yet, even in the midst of this illusion, there are signs that point toward the possibility of transcendence. There are moments of stillness, perhaps in the quiet of the night, when the distractions fade, where an inner voice whispers that there must be something more. There are glimpses of a deeper reality, when material success fails to bring happiness, when the applause fades, and an emptiness lingers, and when the pursuit of validation becomes exhausting and unfulfilling. These are the moments when the soul calls out for something greater, urging the individual to look beyond the surface and question the nature of their existence. Transcending this stage begins with awareness. One must first recognize the illusion for what it is, the belief that happiness is external, that identity is defined by possessions, that security is found in control. The truth is quite the opposite. The more one chases after material fulfillment, the more enslaved one becomes. Real freedom is found in detachment, in realizing that the true self is not the body, not the name, not the reputation, but something far greater. This realization does not mean rejecting the material world, but understanding that it is not the ultimate reality. Money, success, and comfort have their place, but they are tools, not masters. They are meant to serve, not to be worshipped. One must start the inner work process in order to transcend material consciousness. It is necessary to train the mind to see its own patterns, to recognize when attachment is causing suffering, when the ego is demanding acknowledgement, and when fear is controlling choices. In this process, meditation turns into a potent instrument that enables the mind to stop its incessant chatter and catch a glimpse of the realm beyond thinking. Another important factor is gratitude, which helps people focus on what they already have rather than what they lack. Since abundance is determined by one's capacity to appreciate the richness of the present moment rather than by material belongings, the more one practices gratitude, the more they align with abundance. Letting go of external validation is one of the greatest challenges on this path. The need for approval is deeply ingrained, yet it is nothing more than a chain that binds the soul to illusion. The moment a person stops seeking worth outside of themselves, they discover a profound truth. Their value has always been inherent. No title, no wealth, and no recognition can add to what they already are. This realization is the beginning of liberation, the first step toward higher consciousness. The journey out of material consciousness is not an escape from the world, but a transformation of perspective. The same life is lived, but with a new awareness. Obstacles become lessons, losses become redirections, and possessions lose their power to define self-worth. Fear begins to dissolve, replaced by trust in something greater. The struggle for survival is no longer a battle, but an unfolding, a flow, a dance with the universe itself. To rise above this stage is to reclaim true power, the power to create without attachment, to love without fear, to exist without the constant need for validation. It is to step into the realization that life is not about accumulating but about awakening. Once the awakening begins, the soul can never return to sleep. Chapter 4. The awakening. Seeking meaning. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the familiar world begins to lose its certainty. The structures that once seemed unshakable, beliefs, ambitions, relationships, even the very nature of reality, start to feel fragile, as if a deeper truth is waiting just beyond the veil of ordinary perception. This is the beginning of awakening, the shift from unconscious existence to a search for meaning beyond the material world. For some, this moment arrives gently, like a whisper from within, a quiet yet persistent question. Is this all there is? For others, it comes as a storm, a rupture so great that the life they once knew collapses under its weight. Crisis has long been a catalyst for awakening. The loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, the failure of a long-cherished dream. These are the moments that force the mind to confront its deepest fears and question the illusions it once held as truth. Suffering, though painful, has a way of stripping away false identities, revealing that what was once believed to be solid was never real at all. When the familiar dissolves, something new emerges, a quiet awareness that there must be something greater, something beyond the struggles of the physical world. This realization does not come from logic or reasoning, but from an inner knowing, a feeling that stirs deep within the soul. Not all awakenings come through hardship. For some, it is introspection that opens the door, a sudden realization while watching a sunset, the sensation of unity while walking in nature, an inexplicable feeling of being connected to something vast and infinite. These moments of clarity ignite a longing for deeper understanding. The ordinary begins to seem extraordinary, and what was once overlooked now carries profound significance. A shift in consciousness takes place, where the focus moves from external achievements to internal discovery, from seeking validation in the world to seeking truth within. At first, this awakening may feel unsettling. The mind, conditioned by years of societal programming, resists change. It clings to familiar fears and doubts, trying to rationalize what cannot be explained. But once the soul has glimpsed a higher reality, there is no turning back. The questions become louder. Who am I beyond my name, my role, my possessions? What is my true purpose? What lies beyond the physical world? These questions mark the beginning of true spiritual growth. The first signs of transformation begin subtly, a sense of detachment from the things that once seemed all-important. The desire for material success and external approval begins to fade, replaced by a longing for something deeper. There is a growing awareness of energy, a recognition that thoughts and emotions are not random but have a direct influence on experience. The realization dawns that suffering is not merely something to be endured, but a teacher, revealing the illusions that keep one bound to limitation. Synchronicities begin to appear, meaningful coincidences that feel too precise to be random. A book falls into one's hands at just the right time, a conversation with a stranger provides an answer to an unspoken question, events unfold in ways that seem guided by an unseen intelligence. What was once dismissed as coincidence is now seen as part of a greater design, an invitation to trust in the unseen forces that shape reality. As awareness expands, so does sensitivity to the energies of others. Old relationships may begin to feel misaligned, conversations that once seemed interesting now feel empty. There is a growing need for solitude, not from loneliness, but from a desire to connect with something deeper. Meditation, contemplation, and time in nature become sources of renewal, offering glimpses into a peace that is not dependent on external conditions. Fear still arises, for the mind is not yet free from its old conditioning. Doubts surface and the pull of the familiar world remains strong. But alongside the fear, there is something new, an underlying sense of trust, a quiet confidence that there is more to life than meets the eye. The soul has begun its journey home, and though the path is uncertain, the direction is clear. Awakening is not an event, but a process. It unfolds in layers, revealing deeper truths as one is ready to receive them. Each realization brings both freedom and responsibility, for to awaken is not simply to see differently, but to live differently. The habits, beliefs, and attachments that once seemed essential must be examined, and many will need to be released. The life that once felt secure may no longer fit, and the call to step into the unknown grows stronger. Yet, with each step forward, the fear of the unknown begins to fade. In its place comes a growing sense of wonder, a deep appreciation for the mystery of existence. Life is no longer something to be feared or controlled, but something to be experienced fully, with open eyes and an open heart. The awakening has begun, and the journey toward truth, once hidden beneath the distractions of the material world, is now illuminated by the light of awareness. Chapter 5. The Conscious Creator. Mastering Your Mind. There comes a moment in the spiritual journey when one realizes that life is not happening to them but through them. No longer a passive observer tossed about by fate, the awakened soul steps into the role of creator, recognizing that reality is not something fixed and predetermined, but a reflection of the mind's deepest convictions. This shift in understanding is the turning point from victimhood to mastery, from unconscious existence to conscious creation. For as long as one remains in a state of reaction, believing that circumstances dictate emotions, that success or failure is determined by external forces, that happiness is something granted or withheld by the world, there can be no true freedom. The world mirrors the beliefs held within, shaping itself according to thought, emotion, and expectation. Every experience, every relationship, every success or failure is an echo of the mind's inner landscape. To master reality, one must first master the mind. The recognition of this truth is both liberating and daunting. It means that nothing happens by chance, that there are no coincidences or forces conspiring against an individual's progress. The universe is not chaotic, nor is it punishing or rewarding. It is responsive. It aligns with the energy it is given, manifesting into form the thoughts most consistently held. Those who dwell in limitation, resentment, or fear unknowingly call forth experiences that confirm those very states. Those who cultivate gratitude, abundance, and certainty attract experiences that reflect their inner wealth. This is the law by which creation unfolds, whether one is aware of it or not. The law of attraction is not an abstract philosophy, but a principle as precise as gravity. It governs the movement of energy, drawing similar vibrations together in perfect resonance. Thoughts, being energetic in nature, radiate frequencies that extend beyond the mind and into the vast field of potentiality. The more a thought is repeated, the stronger its frequency, and the more inevitable its manifestation. That which is focused upon with intensity and belief will, in time, become reality. But the key to this law is not simply in thinking, but in feeling. Thought alone has little power unless it is infused with emotion, for it is emotion that carries the energy necessary to shape the physical world. A passing wish holds no weight, but a conviction so deeply felt that it becomes part of one's identity transforms into a magnetic force, pulling its corresponding reality into existence. To consciously create is to direct the mind with unwavering clarity, choosing thoughts as carefully as one would choose the seeds for a garden. Just as no farmer would plant weeds and expect a harvest of golden wheat, no individual can entertain thoughts of lack and limitation while expecting a life of abundance. Creation requires discipline. It demands a mind trained in focus, a heart attuned to possibility. It is not enough to wish for change while speaking words of doubt, nor is it enough to visualize success while fearing failure. Every aspect of the being, mind, heart, and soul, must align with the desired reality, embodying its truth long before it becomes visible. Among the greatest tools for this alignment are affirmations, visualization, and meditation. Affirmations are more than mere words. They are declarations of reality, spoken into existence with conviction. Each time an affirmation is repeated, it imprints upon the subconscious mind, rewriting old patterns of thought and replacing them with new truths. A mind conditioned by years of fear and doubt will not change overnight, but with persistence, affirmations reshape belief, and belief reshapes experience. Visualization is the bridge between thought and manifestation. When the mind vividly imagines a desired outcome, it creates an energetic blueprint that the universe follows. The clearer the image, the more powerful its effect. But visualization is not a passive exercise. It must be felt. To see oneself in a state of joy, success, or abundance is not enough. One must feel as though it is already real. The body must experience the emotions of fulfillment, for emotion is the fuel that drives manifestation into form. Meditation serves as the foundation of conscious creation, for it is in stillness that the mind is cleansed of noise and attuned to higher frequencies. A mind constantly engaged in chaotic thought cannot create with precision, just as a turbulent sea cannot reflect the sky. In the silence of meditation, clarity emerges, intuition strengthens. The connection to the divine deepens. Through meditation, one gains mastery over the mind, and through that mastery over life itself. To become a conscious creator is to move through the world with certainty, knowing that nothing is beyond reach, that all things are possible to the one who believes. It is to release the illusion of limitation and step fully into the power that has always been present. The external world no longer dictates experience. Instead, it becomes a canvas upon which the soul paints its desires. And as the Creator steps forward in faith, trusting in the unseen before it becomes seen, the universe responds with unwavering precision, delivering into reality the very essence of that trust. Chapter 6. The Enlightened Mind, Higher Awareness. There comes a time in the soul's journey when the struggle ceases. The endless pursuit of control, validation, and material fulfillment gives way to something far greater, a profound state of inner peace. This is not the peace that comes from external security, nor the fleeting calm that follows temporary success. It is an unshakable tranquility that remains untouched by circumstances, a serenity that arises when one has transcended the illusions of the lower mind. In this state, the need to resist, to fight, to prove, dissolves. There is no longer a desperate attempt to hold on, nor a fear of letting go. The enlightened mind has discovered the secret that so many seek but so few find. True power comes through detachment. Detachment is not indifference, nor is it a withdrawal from life. It is the ability to move through existence without being bound by it, to experience love without possession, to face loss without despair, to engage with the world while knowing one is not of it. The enlightened mind sees all things as temporary, understanding that nothing in the material world can truly be owned, controlled, or kept. It does not cling to success nor fear failure, for both are part of the same illusion. It does not seek approval nor fear judgment, for the opinions of others are mere reflections of their own state of consciousness. Instead, there is a quiet confidence, an unwavering trust in the perfection of existence. At this stage, love is no longer conditional. It is no longer given in exchange for something or withheld in moments of disappointment. Love, in its purest form, becomes the natural state of being. The enlightened mind does not see enemies, for it understands that every soul, no matter how lost, is on a path of its own. It does not judge, for judgment belongs to the realm of duality, where things are divided into right and wrong, good and bad. Here, beyond duality, all things are seen as expressions of the same divine essence. Compassion flows freely, not as an effort, but as a way of existence. Forgiveness is immediate, not because it is an obligation, but because there is nothing to forgive when one understands the depth of human ignorance and the illusions that drive people's actions. The wisdom of ancient masters echoes through this stage of consciousness. The teachings of Lao Tzu speak of effortless flow, of allowing life to unfold without resistance, moving in harmony with the Tao rather than struggling against it. Buddha's path of enlightenment reveals that suffering ends when attachment ends, that peace is found not in acquiring, but in releasing. Jesus taught the power of love beyond condition, of surrendering to the divine will and recognizing the eternal nature of the soul. All these great masters pointed toward the same truth, that freedom is not something to be gained, but something to be realized. It is not found outside, but within. There is a quiet wisdom that emerges as the enlightened mind deepens its awareness. Logic no longer dictates understanding. Intuition becomes the guiding force. The thinking mind, which once demanded evidence and explanations, now bows to the knowingness that requires neither. Answers arise without effort. Decisions unfold without doubt. Synchronicities become a natural occurrence, no longer seen as coincidences, but as signs of alignment with the higher flow of existence. The right people, the right opportunities, the perfect timing, all seem to arrive as if by design because they are. The mind, once clouded by fear and hesitation, is now clear enough to recognize the guidance that has always been present. There is no longer a need to chase after life. Instead, life comes to meet the enlightened mind. Desires, when they arise, are fulfilled effortlessly, not because of manipulation or force, but because the soul is aligned with the creative force that manifests all things. There is no longer worry about the future, nor regret about the past. The present moment is all there is, and within it, all things exist. Time loses its grip, for one no longer waits for happiness to come at some later date. Joy is not a distant goal. It is here, now, in the very act of being. To reach this state is to step into true liberation. The world still exists, but it no longer dictates one's experience. There is engagement without entanglement, passion without suffering, and purpose without pressure. The enlightened mind does not seek escape, for it no longer sees life as something to endure, but as something to witness in awe. The sky, the wind, the laughter of a child, the stillness of the night, all become profound, each moment infused with meaning beyond words. There is nowhere to go, nothing to become, for everything is already as it should be. This is the final realization. Enlightenment was never something to be achieved. It was always present, waiting for the mind to be still enough to recognize it. And when it is seen, there is nothing left to do but smile, knowing that the search was an illusion and that what was sought was never lost. Chapter 7. The Collective Consciousness. The journey of consciousness is never an isolated path. Though it may feel personal, though the struggles and revelations seem to belong to the individual alone, the truth is far greater. Every step toward enlightenment sends ripples through the vast ocean of existence. Each thought, each vibration, each shift in awareness is not contained within the mind of one being, but resonates outward, affecting the whole. The transformation of a single soul is the transformation of the world, for there is no true separation between the individual and the collective. All are threads woven into the same cosmic fabric, connected by forces unseen but deeply felt. To awaken is to recognize this unity, to understand that nothing exists in isolation. Just as the cells of a body function together, responding to the signals of the whole, so too do human beings exist within an intricate web of energy, where the state of one influences the state of all. Every act of kindness, every expression of love, every elevation of thought contributes to the greater evolution of consciousness. And just as love and wisdom uplift, fear and ignorance spread like a shadow, reinforcing the barriers that keep humanity in cycles of suffering. The responsibility, then, is clear: to refine the self, to master the mind, to radiate a higher frequency so that others, even unknowingly, may be lifted by that energy. The reality of interconnectedness is not mere philosophy. It is a fundamental law of existence. The energies emitted by one individual are not confined to their immediate surroundings, but extend outward, influencing those they encounter, whether near or far. A single person who raises their vibration, who holds thoughts of peace, who refuses to be consumed by fear, becomes a beacon in the storm, altering the very atmosphere around them. And as more individuals awaken, the collective consciousness begins to shift, elevating the entire field of human experience. This is why movements of great change have always begun with a few enlightened beings, those who saw beyond the illusion of separation and understood their role in the grand design. Their presence alone, their ability to hold light in a world bound by darkness, created a force strong enough to inspire transformation in countless others. The greatest teachers did not impose their truths, but simply embodied them, radiating wisdom in such a way that those around them could not help but feel the pull toward something higher. Science, though long focused on the material, has begun to uncover the reality of this unseen connection. Studies on group consciousness reveal that the thoughts and emotions of a collective have measurable effects on the world. Experiments have shown that when large numbers of people focus on the same intention, be it love, healing, or peace, physical reality responds. Crime rates decline, global tensions ease, and the very patterns of nature shift. The fabric of reality, once thought to be fixed, bends in response to the unified force of collective intention. This is not mere coincidence, but proof of an ancient truth, that consciousness is the true creator of reality, that the mind does not merely perceive but influences the world it observes. The energy of one may seem small, but when combined with the energy of many, it becomes an unstoppable force. Those who awaken, who step beyond their own struggles and begin to see the whole, understand this power. They cease to live only for themselves, for their personal desires or fears, and instead align with something greater. Their presence becomes an offering, their very being a catalyst for the elevation of all. The shifts occurring in the world today are not random. They are the direct result of the rising consciousness of humanity. As more individuals break free from the illusion of separation, as they recognize their divine nature and refuse to be bound by limitation, the energy of the planet itself changes. Old structures built on fear and division begin to crumble, for they cannot be sustained in the presence of a higher vibration. A new world emerges, not through force or revolution, but through the quiet yet unstoppable awakening of the human spirit. To understand the collective consciousness is to understand the immense power held within every thought, every word, every action. It is to know that nothing is insignificant, that no effort toward truth and love is ever wasted. Even in solitude, the work done within radiates outward, touching lives in ways unseen. And as the awakening spreads, as more souls step into their light, the dream of a world governed by wisdom, harmony, and love ceases to be a dream. It becomes reality. This is the great unfolding, the inevitable transformation of existence. The question is not whether the world will change, for it already is. The question is whether one will rise to meet it, whether they will recognize their role in this grand movement of consciousness, and whether they will choose in every moment to be an instrument of the divine, shaping the world not through force but through the radiant power of being. Chapter 8. Transcending the Ego, Living in Oneness. There comes a moment on the spiritual path when the search itself dissolves. The mind, once restless and insatiable, ceases its endless questioning, not because it has found all the answers, but because it realizes that there were never any questions to begin with. What once seemed like a journey outward, the pursuit of wisdom, enlightenment, and transcendence, turns inward, revealing that everything sought was always within. This is the moment of surrender, the moment when the ego, in all its illusions of control and separateness, falls away. To transcend the ego is not to destroy it, but to see it for what it is, a temporary construct, a mask worn for the sake of navigating the physical world. The ego believes itself to be the center of existence, identifying with names, roles, and personal stories, clinging to the belief that it must fight, achieve, and prove itself to be worthy. It thrives on comparison, division, and attachment, creating endless desires that can never truly be satisfied. Yet when the light of awareness shines upon it, its power begins to fade. It becomes clear that the self it so desperately defends is not the true self but a fleeting identity built upon illusions. Surrender is the act of stepping beyond this false self, of releasing the need to control, to be right, to be seen. It is not weakness, as the ego fears, but the highest form of strength. To surrender is to trust in the unfolding of life, to trust in the perfection of existence, to trust that there is a divine intelligence far greater than the limited mind can comprehend. In this surrender, the weight of struggle vanishes. There is no longer resistance against what is, no more fighting against the currents of life. Instead, there is acceptance, a deep knowing that all things are exactly as they should be. Judgment, which once shaped perceptions of self and others, dissolves in the light of this awareness. The mind no longer divides the world into categories of right and wrong, good and bad, worthy and unworthy. Instead, everything is seen as an expression of the same infinite source, manifesting in countless forms and experiences. Even those who once seemed like adversaries are understood as fellow travelers, each moving through their own journey of awakening, each playing their part in the great unfolding of consciousness. There is no need to condemn, no need to hold resentment, for all are merely reflections of the same divine presence. The need for control vanishes as well. The ego, in its desperation to shape reality according to its own desires, seeks to manipulate, to grasp, to force things into place. But in the awakened state, it becomes clear that true power does not come from control, but from alignment. When one is in harmony with the flow of existence, life unfolds effortlessly, without struggle or resistance. There is no need to chase after things, no need to hold on so tightly. What is meant to be will come, and what is not will fall away, all in perfect order. With this realization comes the greatest freedom of all, the release of attachment. No longer bound by the illusion that happiness is found in external things, the soul is free to experience life without clinging, without fear of loss. Relationships are no longer based on need, but on pure connection. Success is no longer measured by worldly standards, but by the depth of inner peace. The fear of death, of endings, of impermanence disappears, replaced by the understanding that nothing is ever truly lost. All things are part of the eternal whole, shifting, changing, yet always existing in some form. At this level of consciousness, love is no longer a transaction, no longer something given in exchange for something else. Love becomes the very state of being, flowing effortlessly toward all beings without condition or expectation. It is not reserved for a select few, nor is it withheld when it is not returned. It is given simply because it is one's nature to give. This love is not an emotion but a force, an energy that radiates from the depths of the soul, touching all who come into its presence. It is the kind of love that heals, that transforms, that lifts others into their own awakening. In this space of oneness, service to others becomes not a duty, but a natural expression of existence. There is no longer a sense of separation between self and other, for all are recognized as aspects of the same divine whole. To serve is to serve oneself, for in lifting another, one lifts the entire field of consciousness. Every act of kindness, every moment of compassion ripples outward, reaching further than the mind can conceive. The enlightened being does not serve from obligation or from a desire to be seen as virtuous. They serve because there is no other way to be. They give not from sacrifice but from overflowing abundance, knowing that in giving, nothing is ever lost. This is the final stage of awakening, the realization that there is nothing to seek, nothing to achieve, nothing to become. The illusion of separation has dissolved, and what remains is the eternal truth. The self was never separate from the whole, never apart from the divine. There is only presence, only being, only infinite awareness experiencing itself in countless forms. And so, the journey ends where it began, not in some distant paradise, not in some higher realm, but here, in this moment, in the eternal now. The awakened soul walks the same earth, breathes the same air, sees the same sun rise and set. Yet everything is different, for now they see clearly. The search is over. There is nothing left to do but to live, to love, and to be. Conclusion. The journey never ends. Awakening is an infinite journey. There is no end point where all mysteries are unraveled. Instead, consciousness continuously expands. Growth and enlightenment are not about reaching a conclusion, but about deepening one's understanding and evolving with the ever-expanding universe. True wisdom lies in living and integrating awareness into daily life, choosing thoughts that uplift, responding with love, and finding peace within, regardless of external chaos. Stillness and mindfulness are essential, allowing one to connect with the present moment and hear the soul's quiet wisdom. Beyond personal growth, awakening calls for uplifting others, not through forceful teachings but through presence and example. Acts of kindness and love ripple outward, creating unseen transformations in the world. The journey of consciousness never ends, and that is its greatest gift. Embracing the unknown with an open heart allows one to live fully, love unconditionally, and walk forward knowing they are exactly where they need to be.